You're listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.
I mean, they have a good flavor.
Yeah, they've got some sugar on them, so we're recording now.
All right.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
Earlier you said that you think there's the majority of commercials on TV are geared toward women and not men. And I was thinking about it, and I kind of agree with you. Why do you think that is?
I think, I don't know.
Do you think because women are more of a consumer? Or do you think it's just leaving dudes out?
Maybe both. But women are more of the consumers. They're the ones who make the buying choices. I feel like maybe men don't as much, and maybe they buy different things. So commercials on regular TV or even the apps that we mainly watch, or the one we were watching, they all are geared for women. Women are the ones who are going to pay attention to them. They're going to have their, going to the store and shopping. Maybe more men are too, but I don't think so. Not as much.
I think there's some accuracy in that, but in this household, I am the high dollar hoe. And Nina will agree with that. So our shopping, we shop differently, right?
Right.
So the majority of my shopping happens on the toilet. And if I take my phone in there, I'm on Amazon and I'm buying something. Me and Nina we always argue on this because when Nina buys something, she really tries to do a good job of buying something that's reasonably inexpensive but is nice, But I feel that she doesn't quite take care of her things the way I do. So when I buy something, I go and I spend a lot of money on it. But in my defense, I take care of it. Unlike my truck, I keep most things clean. So things last me longer. So where I might buy something that's the compound miter saw for doing the crown molding that never happened, $800, but it cuts amazing. She might go buy something that's $60, So
it doesn't cut as well.
It doesn't cut as well, won't last as long. She's probably going to leave it out in the rain, that kind of stuff.
Rust.
So I guess guys consume too, but I think that when we buy things, it's not as often and a lot more expensive.
Well, I can fault myself for buying things that are pretty expensive. I do take care of it. I am like you in that sense. I kind of look at the quality before I buy it. Actually, my friend accused me of being those TV shoppers, buying.
You're like QVC?
Yeah. Well, maybe not QVC, but you see something on TV and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to buy that. What is it called? It's
impulse buying.
There we go.
So what's your last impulse buy?
Well, it wasn't really an impulse buy. That's the thing. But I bought this suit for my job.
Okay.
That's UV and water resistant. And so it's like a jumpsuit. It's functional. It has pockets. It's UV to protect me from the sun. It's really nice looking at the same time. So, and that's what I wanted, something functional, but that I didn't look very... so I didn't look crappy in it,
Yeah.
I have a job to do. And so...
So is it kind of beekeeper or pandemic? What kind of suit are we looking at?
It's a jumpsuit, but it's nice. Made by a surf company. So I was pretty intentional when I was buying it. I only wear leggings to work, and I didn't want that to be my full work gear, especially having to interact with other adults who are dressed much differently than I am,
So when you talk about leggings, for me, I just hear yoga pants.
So yes, yoga pants.
And I think most guys hear yoga pants.
They do.
Okay.
So I didn't want to wear yoga pants every day, and plus mine are pretty flashy. Some of the ones
Flashy yoga pants?
like
I've only seen gray ones and black ones.
No, I have like pretty flashy yoga pants that are like my farm pants, and I consider them my farm pants because they're like water pants. So I can get them dirty, wet, but they'll dry like relatively quick.
And you're constantly in the ground, so you're constantly bending and
Exactly.
reaching and stuff. So
And so, but I don't want to wear these flashy, geometric, colorful, rainbow-colored pants to work, and then working where I'm at now. So I could do it when it's at my own farm, but not at this place. I just felt like it would be a little bit unprofessional. So
that's a good purchase though.
I thought so too.
That's reasonable. I don't know what the price was, but it sounds like it's functional. You're using it for work. My purchases are like, I think I really need this $450 knife. And then it sits in my backpack forever. So that's kind of what I buy.
And you felt like you were going to use it for what purpose?
Well, I have this, to me, I really enjoy knives. Knives, guns, watches, shoes, backpacks. Now, I don't have like this is the only watch I have.
I was going to say, how many watches do you have?
I just dig them a whole lot. Now, I will tell you something that is kind of creepy that I have a lot of are backpacks. Like, I love pouches and I love backpacks.
Really?
So, like, I constantly buy them. So, I have one now that I've put, because my fat ass is going to start going to the gym real soon. So, I took one of Nina's backpacks and I use that for dirty gym stuff. I had to go buy another. I have another backpack that we use for traveling, and it's kind of larger, and I kind of like the way it's got a little hood on it.
Right.
So I like the way I can put like dirty clothes there or boots or whatever. And then I have another backpack that I keep. I need to show this to you in a minute. I've got a little gun, little 9mm AR platform kind of. Mm-hmm. It fits real nice in this bag. That backpack was like $280.
You'll have to show me the backpack itself.
Oh, you're gonna like it. But it's funny because I see a lot of people traveling, and here in the summertime, and I was like, how are all these people? Where do they get the money to travel? And then I remember, well, shoot, we got some government money a while back. I say government money, but it's our money. And I was thinking, man, that, maybe that's how people are traveling. And I started thinking, what did I do with the money that I had been given back? And I was like, oh, knives, ammos, and gun.
all worthwhile buys, of course.
To me, they're family heirlooms. One day I'm no longer going to be on this earth. And all my siblings and nephews are going to go through my shit, and they're going to be super impressed. And they're going to go, we should have hung out with him more when he was alive because he's got some cool stuff. So that's kind of where it's at now.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Did you ever go shooting with that gun you had?
No, the one my friend sent me. Mm-hmm. I did not.
What are we waiting for?
I have no clue. I'm a little scared of it, and it's huge. It's a huge
Did you
gun.
bring it?
No, I didn't bring it.
Okay.
I don't even have a license for it.
Soon
to be, you won't need a license, which
now,
is retarded.
Let me tell you. Okay, tell me your opinion on that. I really want to hear this because. Go ahead.
So it isn't that I'm totally against guns. I feel like there should be some sort of regulation on how you do need a license, I think, to carry one. It shows that you know how to shoot it, you know how to take care of it, it's almost like a responsibility.
It's a huge responsibility
to have a gun. And so them taking away this, they're not making people accountable, almost, or have no responsibility. And so how are you going to know that gun is registered? It's somebody else's, but it could be registered to somebody else, and they go and shoot somebody. And then what are you going to do?
Well, I think it gets looked at less as in who. I think when something happens, whether it's a crime or whether it's somebody defending themselves or something, I think there's less of a concern on who actually purchased that gun and more how the gun was used and what was the interaction between the two people, how that gun was used. Now, I've heard a lot of people real upset about the no license thing, right? I have my license. Nina has her license. Now, I'll say this. I think for the most part, shitty people who are criminals who want guns to have them. I think most people who are into guns have them. Most people who want them for self-defense have them as well. So I think when they waive this license thing, it's being viewed more as they're getting rid of a tax off of a constitutional right? That's kind of how they're viewing getting rid of the license.
You think so?
Yeah. But now I'll say this. I've taken the class. I have my license. I paid the fee. I did the paperwork. They take you to the range. I'm going to cough one more time. Ooh. Ugh. I'm leaving that in too. So then you go through the class, and it's literally a day course. Maybe two some places. Then you have to go qualify shooting. Once you qualify, you've done all the paperwork, you've sat in the class, you get your license. There isn't much. That's a day deal. So between me going through the class, you not, and us both carrying, there's not that big of a difference. The difference is that I never go to the range. You go to the range every day, right? So you're training, you're practicing, you're getting comfortable with the gun. That's where it's a personal responsibility of people to know how to use that tool, right?
Okay.
And so waiving the $400 license thing, it doesn't really affect that much. And so the other thing is, people are kind of like, I saw people on Facebook going, everybody's going to be going crazy.
Shooting everybody else.
Now, there's still rules.
Right.
You still can't take them into a bar. You can't carry if you've been drinking. You can't carry them in the government places. I'm sure they have the 3006 and the 3007 rules, which is not being able to carry at all or having to carry concealed. I'm sure there's going to be a 3008 that comes out that says no gun at all, right? So I think and I did see people, posting on Facebook saying it's going to be anarchy. It's like, well, no, not necessarily.
Yes, ghosts.
You're still going to have people who are good people carrying who are just dipshits. I mean,
That's true.
And whether they carry legally or illegally or whether they needed a license or not, it's really a personal responsibility. And I'll be honest with you, I love to shoot. I'd love to take you shooting. We'll shoot you next time. In the fall, in the fall, we'll go to my sister. She has a little range.
Okay.
And but I shoot from time to time. I need to shoot regularly. And this is the other thing is, like, when we go shooting, we'll sit there and we're holding the gun and we're aiming at the target and we're taking our time and we're pulling the trigger and we're trying to get bullseyes. And that's good, I think, in the beginning when you're trying to get comfortable. But one thing that I try and do, and I'm not very good at it, and there's people that are a lot better, is being able to draw from your holster, acquiring a target and shooting that target, and maybe not hitting the bullseye, but hitting it accurately. And then being able to maybe go to another target, come back to that target. People don't practice that enough. Gabe Molina, around the world doesn't practice that enough.
And why would you find that useful? Like, in case you needed to use that gun in some sort of altercation?
Well, I think more of a self-defense, for self-defense reasons. Most gun owners who are not doing it illegally, I think for the most part, and you have your dipshits. So we're just going to quit talking about the dipshits because they
They're
exist.
always going to be around.
They exist.
You're right, whether they have a license or not.
Yeah, they're going to be around.
Yeah.
But I think your regular gun owner who's responsible we always want that to be the one purchase that we never needed to purchase, right? But it's more of for safety reasons. I think there's been over the years, I feel like we've as people in general have a lot less respect for one another, you know.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And so I think bad things happen more often. So it makes you, like I told you earlier, I hate going anywhere. Nina can go and have a great time. I go and I'm watching all the creepy people walking around, and I'm like, okay, well, where's the exit and where's the bathroom? You
Right.
know? The other thing, one thing that I think I always tell people this. They look at me crazy. I say, play with your gun in a responsible way. So practice holding it, practice drawing it, even in your house. I'll take it and I'll draw it and I'll hold it out straight and acquire the sights. I'll do it with the rounds in it. I'll do it with the rounds out. I'll do it without looking at it. So there's been a couple of times, we've never had anything like crazy happen, but there's been a couple of times where like the alarm's gone off. And one in particular said, the alarm went off. I said garage door. It was 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm an extremely fat, out of shape, overly attractive man.
That you are, totally.
So I went and got the gun. And my heart rate was instantly like 111. Because this thing's had a little heart rate monitor, so I checked it.
Right.
So I got up, grabbed the gun, threw my sandals on because I always wear shoes around the house because stickers and stuff. Dogs bring them in. So I chambered around. I walked through the house. I went to the laundry room because the next door would have been utility room.
Right.
So I remember I was literally half asleep. So I wasn't even thinking at the time. I chambered around. I went to that door and I paused for a second to almost catch my breath and wake up. Because I was like, okay, I'm going to open this door and either there's nothing or there's something.
Right.
You know. So I opened the door. I walked in there. And luckily it was nothing. And so we checked the house. We searched the house real quick. Checked all the bedrooms. Went through. And then so I probably shouldn't say this, but I typically don't keep one in the barrel. Just in case, you know. Here at the house, to me, I think when you're out in the street, it's probably good to keep one in the barrel.
Okay.
Because I think interactions happen a lot more quickly. Here in the house, it's probably not going to happen as quick. Right. You're going to hear the alarm door or window break or something. So I went and I took the round out of the gun. And Nina says, do you think call the alarm people? We should call them. I said, call them, you know, before they send cops over. And so she calls them. And all that took probably less than a minute.
Right.
And it's a lot of things happening, even searching the house. They had never even gotten the alarm. They're like, oh, we haven't gotten one. And so I tell people are kind of like, well, what do you need a gun for? It's kind of like in that minute, I got up, put my sandals on, chambered around, went through the house, checked the garage, checked the rest of the house. I did all that in less than a minute.
Right.
And so it's kind of like had somebody been in the house and there had been problems, the alarm people still didn't know. They still hadn't got that information to send to the cops and have a cop come out. So it's like, it's good to be familiar with your weapons, know how to use them. And like I said, unless you're one of these guys on the internet that shoot all the time and post content all the time, you probably need some practice, you know. And my sister lives out at that ranch, you know. And with the bailouts and stuff and things that have happened to people there locally, she's I think she's better now. I think she's more calm than what she was. But you know, it was scary. You know, when you have a smoking hot 265-pound woman out in the country by herself, you know, at times, you know, she's gonna want to carry her gun, and she does. But again, it's not a matter of owning it and carrying it. You still have to be practiced, right? And you still have to have that responsibility because it's huge. You know, I love shooting guns. I hope to never have to shoot somebody, you know. But I think there's a lot of people at a certain point, most people, and you would too, you know. I think where you'd say, if I had to, I would, you know. And it depends on the circumstance, but I think everybody has that circumstance, you know. And whether it's in fear for your kids or feel for your dad or, you know, a loved one, or, you know, it's especially at 3 o'clock in the morning where you're asleep. It's scary. So we need to get you practiced.
I need a smaller gun. That's what it is.
What do you know what kind of gun it is?
I have no clue.
Show me with your hand how big it is. You have little bitty hands, by the way.
It's probably about this big.
So you have
And it's about this tall.
So you have a cannon from the 1800s.
Well, it's a 9mm. That's all I know about it.
I'm joking.
So my friend sent it because she wanted it, but she couldn't get it sent to the state she lives in. So she's like, I bought it in Texas. I'm having them send it to you. And I said, all right. So it took me almost 6 months to go and pick it up from the gun shop. Yeah, because I was like, yeah, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then finally I went to get it. And it's a really beautiful gun. As guns
You showed me a picture.
Yeah.
I think it might be similar to the one that I have. I'll have to show you because I think it's similar.
Yeah, and I don't care for guns. I don't really like them. I don't want to
Yeah.
shoot anything. I don't, it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
I have it because it's hers.
Yeah.
Technically, really. My brother saw it and he was like, you never have to reload this one. Like, it has enough rounds that it has 13, 17 rounds. I don't know, some
You tell
ungodly
Smiley
amount.
there's never enough ammo in the gun.
I'll tell him.
Ever. You always need more rounds.
So yeah, it's an ungodly amount, and he's like, if you can't shoot somebody in this many rounds, then you must have a huge problem.
You should have said, well, what if I have to shoot this many people?
I know.
You know?
He would think something's crazy. He would be like, what are you doing? What did you do?
Now, I'll tell you this. There's been a few people that I've talked to, and they've let me show them guns. And I tell everybody that whether you're a gun person or not, you should understand how they operate. Because you never know when you'll be in a position to where you need to take the ammo out of the gun, or you take it if it's falling on the ground or something's going on. It's always good to know how to handle it. That way you may not want to use it or need to use it, but you'll have the knowledge base to be able to handle it, take the ammo out, and make it safe until somebody else can come and look at it. So to me, that's a bare minimum. And to me, that's something, I know I don't want to get into dark territory, but it's like that's something that we should be teaching everybody. There's so many guns all over the place. You should at least know how to pick one up, take the ammo out, and make it safe.
I feel that people are a little naive, though. To not a lot of people, maybe they just are so against guns that they feel like they may never be put into that situation.
Yeah.
And I have friends that are really against guns.
Did they buy one last year?
No, they did not.
Did they buy one this year?
No.
I tell you what, gun sales after last year's madness, it was like America's. To me, it was kind of like a good opportunity for people to see what folks are capable of. And in all kinds,
That's true.
Whether it's
From whatever walk of life.
whether it's looting or rioting or burning, or just the pandemic, or people not sharing groceries like we talked about earlier.
Oh my God. Insane.
There's last year and even the snow this year.
Yeah.
It was a good opportunity for people to go, okay, we had a whole bunch of small scale catastrophes.
Yeah.
What was I short on? What can I do better? We talked about being a little bit of a prepper, right? And
yeah.
I think everybody kind of is looking at things differently.
Oh yeah, totally. They're having a little bit of excess somewhere.
There's that whole self-sufficiency that I think there's a large group of younger folks that don't take that into consideration,
No, and I'm afraid that maybe they just weren't raised that way.
I blame our generation. Were we bad parents? Generation X.
I'm not a bad parent.
I say we as in the Generation X.
I think possibly if we were the ones who are now raising and are raising the millennials, then yes, we're definitely bad parents, because I'm not sure that they're fully prepared
Yeah.
for what actually life is. And then that's not everybody. There are a lot of
Oh, yeah.
millennials who are very well equipped to and thinking about things differently. The world we live in a little bit different and trying to make it a little bit better. And I actually have met a lot of those. I do think they sometimes blindly maybe do things with not getting a lot of the information that they need. So,
Do you think some people willingly don't get the information, or are they just not aware of it?
maybe a little bit of both. Maybe they're trying to be a little more self-sufficient and becoming farmers and being more interested in where their food comes from. But I feel like they're not totally getting the bigger picture of even that sometimes. Like, I don't know. I think we have a long ways to go.
I think so too. I was hoping that, and maybe it did help, but I was hoping like last year and the beginning of this year would be somewhat of a wake-up call for people. We talked about being able to, growing up in small town and learning how to process meat, or at least, if you're going to eat protein that's animal, being able to kill it, clean it, take the meat off the bone and cook it and have a meal,
Yeah,
So
definitely.
having that simple knowledge base that I guess people that live in rural areas kind of pick up a little quicker than folks in the city, of course, because they're not exposed to it. But even the farming stuff like you're talking about.
Yeah, even that. But even I think maybe some parents try to shield their children too much from that. And like I remember like being super interested in how a pig was killed. When I went to Mexico once, for my aunt was dying of cancer, and all she wanted was a party for her birthday on that last day. And I stayed the night over there with like my aunts and my cousins, and I was in my 20s already, but it was one of the last times I had actually been able to be in Mexico before it started to go crazy and you couldn't go at all. And I remember being in this tiny town or ejido and them killing a pig just for this specific.
That's awesome.
Like they drained it and everything, and I was like entranced because I had never seen it done before. But I feel like seeing those kind of things, we don't show them enough to our children, maybe.
Yeah.
I try to do that, even though it maybe freaked them out a little bit. Like, so for my other ex-job, we used to get rabbits. We needed their eyeballs for their cells, so we needed their corneas. But the person...
By the way, just so people know, Priscilla's a big nerd. Go ahead. You were a chemist or something, right?
No. But yeah, we needed their eyeballs, and we knew I knew of a local person who would raise his own rabbits and then sell the meat. And so I was like, can I have the eyes? Because we needed the cells, and we needed fresh cells for that particular like test or whatever, the cell test we needed.
What counts as fresh? Like, does it have to be that same day or a week? Or?
No, that same day.
Okay.
So like he's like, I'm gonna be harvesting this morning at blah 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 time, such and such time. Can you make it over here so you can harvest the eyes? And I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll be there. Let me grab the stuff I need to preserve the eyeballs until I can take them back to the lab. And so, but yeah, I remember taking my children. They were young. Probably one was maybe 4, 5. Yeah, he was about 4. So my youngest was maybe 2. And so I did take them, and they're watching, but the man was so... My son, my 4-year-old says, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm just taking off their clothes," like, so calm.
Did he pull it off like a sock?
He did, totally.
Cool.
And I got to see that, and I thought it was amazing. And then he would give me the head with the carcass, of course. And but we bought meat, and so they knew where rabbit meat came from, that kind of thing. Like, I'd never done anything else like that, but it's interesting that that happens. And I think children should be exposed to that a little bit more. Or instead of being grossed out by it, they should know where their food comes from.
Yeah.
To an extent. So we have moved away from that a lot.
You know, when Nina and I first started dating, she always talks about how it was in the fall or something that she'd come to George West. And I always grew up around that because Dad, he had a bunch of jobs, but at one point he was a butcher. And so back in George West, we never really went hunting, but we always had a ton of meat because, you know, people would give it to us, or they'd kill a bunch of pigs, or they'd kill too many deer, or game warden would work with Dad and would get some deer that way. But we were always processing something. You know, it was whether it was deer or hog or whatever, or fish. So we were always cutting it up and, you know, cleaning it, deboning, you know, making sausage out of it, grinding it up and packaging, freezing. And I remember one time it was deer season, and when it was cold outside, we would just hang it in the carport. And Dad would leave it outside, and, you know, because it was usually late when people would bring them over to the house.
Right.
And so we'd hang them, and the next day, you know, still cold, we'd go out there and clean them up. And I remember Nina came over one day, and she freaked out because there was like 4 or 5 deer hanging from Dad's, you know, blood all over the driveway. And, you know, my mom was just used to it. You know, you always had blood all over the bottom of your shoes. And so that was just something that we kind of grew up in. And now that I'm getting older, I have the same problem. Dad had carpo, I have carpo. So, you know, we can't sit there and clean 5 or 6 deer, you
like
know,
you used
3
to.
or 4 hog or something. I will tell you one thing, that I love wild pig meat.
Really?
I think if I had to eat one meat the rest of my life and
That
couldn't
would
have
be
it,
it?
I think that would be it. But the problem with those pigs are the fleas and ticks. So as soon as those fleas and ticks stop sensing that blood pumping through that body,
Right.
they start jumping ship.
Find the closest warm
Find
body.
the closest warm body. And you know what? It was us, you know. And so there'd be times that you'd have to pick ticks off you and fleas. And it's very gross. I remember I went to the ram head on the wall over there. A salesman was like, "Hey, let's go hunting." All right. So we went out there, and that year I think I went hunting 2 or 3 times. And I was in the bathroom washing my hands, and I saw something on my beard, and first thought is that's a booger, right? So then I'm looking, and I'm like, it's not a booger. And so I grab it and take it off, and it's a friggin' tick.
Gross.
And I was fortunate because that guy was still very skinny and flat.
Right.
So he hadn't been drinking yet. But I think that year I had 3 ticks. So I beat the dogs that year because I think they had 2. So I had the dogs beat on tick count. But it's fun. Makes you feel manly, you know.
Ticks attaching to your beard.
Oh, yeah. It makes you feel manly, you know. It's like also the interaction of how you acquired that tick.
That's true.
You know, that's
It makes you feel good.
You know, it's funny because we were talking about like the self-help stuff, you know, and girl commercials, and I always tell Nina, you know, sometimes dudes just need to do some dude shit.
I think that's true.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah. Do you the boys get to do some dude stuff? I mean, they're always at the beach, so that's pretty dude.
I think you know what? They're pretty rowdy.
Are they?
They're rowdy kids. They make anything can be a sword, and they like grabbing my farm tools and chopping things down.
Like weeds and stuff?
No, not weeds. Like cactus plants that we want to eat.
Oh.
Like they just cannot stay away from it. And I'm like, that is an edible plant. Like, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Can we just please chop one little, leaf off, please? Like, I mean, they're begging. And it's almost like a destruction thing. And so
that's very weird, but I get what you're saying. I feel that way at times too. It's like you got to break some shit.
Yeah, and they just have to, like, all this excess energy and this tiny little body and all the hormones going crazy. And even though that they're jumping and playing, they still need, like, that outlet for something. And it's fine. I mean, they can run and jump, but it's always my farm tools, and usually my favorite one, which is a pick. And because it takes out all the best weeds.
Oh.
And so they always go for that one. And I'm like, you're going to lose it, you know? Like, it's a tool, not a toy. And so I'm like trying to tell them that just one, like, please, like begging. And I'm
Do you let them?
I do.
Okay.
Like, you know, we're going to be there till 9, 10 o'clock at night. Like, we're not going to get home until 10.
Yeah.
So you might as well have a little bit of fun while you're there.
So tell me about, I want to talk about your current farm, but how did you get into farming just in general? It started in Hawaii, right?
It did. Actually, so when I lived in Hawaii, my ex, and we had 2 boys, mind you, and my ex started an aquaponics farm. He realized that having 2 little boys was pretty expensive, and that he wanted to grow food for them.
So it wasn't even to sell.
No, this was like our own consumption.
Okay.
And I remember that summer, a couple of friends of ours, which is we had known, and he had known the wife. It's a husband and wife, and he had known the wife from when he was a kid because he was best friends with her brother. And they were living in Hawaii, and the husband, who was working for this beginning farmer program, and they had come over to the house, and we were having like a barbecue or something like that, and they were talking about it because it was like their last day of graduation. And they had invited some of the other farmers that had just graduated from the program. And so we were talking about it. And then I was asking about it because I was interested. I had gone there once and I had seen what they were doing. And since we were starting to grow our own food, I was like, I kind of want to try this. Like, I'm interested. I was working full time as a chemist. So I was like, it's doable. And so as I'm talking to my friend, she's like, that's what we geared the program for. Was like people working full time who are able to do farming part time. We want this is geared for people like that. And so, you know, it was a process. I had to apply for it. They have to approve you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like it wasn't
pretty formal then.
Yeah, like you just don't get in. You have to actually write an essay about why you want to do farming.
I would have never got in.
Yeah.
I would have never got in.
And my friend said, she was like, we didn't help you get in at all. Like, you got in all on your own merit.
Yeah.
And she's like, we didn't have to push for you. Like, and she was like, so, you know, it was good. So I went through this.
It's got to feel good.
Yeah.
To hear that.
I was glad because I was afraid that I wasn't, you know, I was like, I hope I get in, please, you know.
See, we're 2 totally different people because I'd have been like, hook it up, dude. I'm not writing this damn essay. Get it out. Get it out.
But yeah, so, and then from there I just went through the full program, made a business, and started farming. So.
And your business name is?
Vida Farms.
Well, how'd you come up with that name?
I don't know.
Life?
Yeah, I was thinking about life, and I wanted it to be a Spanish name. Mm-hmm. And so it was the easiest because you want something that people remember and for it to be memorable in some sort of way. And so I eventually designed my own logo.
I remember I told you I was going to help you with that. And I even bought some software for it. And I should have got back to you, but I was terrible at that software. I didn't have the heart to call you and be like, hey, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm sorry.
Well, it's fine. I like my logo. I designed it. It's very girly.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's me, I think. I don't think I'll ever get rid of it.
No, I think it's cool.
And so, yeah. And then eventually things change in life. And I did run my business for a few years while I lived in Hawaii, working full time and farming and 2 kids and married at the time. So it was good. You learn a lot about what you're capable of. And I love growing vegetables and I love growing the variety that there is. So it's almost like a research project to me in a way. So I do things like I know that are going to make consistent money. But then I also know like I like to explore. I like to grow different varieties. I want to see what chefs are willing to use for the most part. I like the color. I love explaining new varieties to people, like at farmers markets, and why they should eat it and why I chose to grow this particular one. You know, whatever vegetable and the variety or whatever. So, and I think it's good. I think people are interested in that now. They're interested in Hawaii. People are ahead of people than they are here in Texas.
I've never been to Hawaii, but I've often heard that in Hawaii you're either rich or you're poor. Is that pretty accurate?
I think there's kind of a middle class.
There's a middle class there.
There is middle class, but if you're poor, you're poor.
Okay.
I mean, I don't feel like we were super well off, but we weren't starving either. Yeah. You know, like we had what we needed. I mean, we had food for sure. And we would always have some sort of fruit or vegetable, just trading and having a farm life.
So you think there's more of a, I guess, farming and again, maybe meat processing culture over there than here?
Lifestyle. Way ahead than here.
Mm-hmm.
Lifestyle is huge over there, and people are more willing to buy local.
I like that you say they're more ahead over there than here. For that reason. And it's like, because those are old ways.
Yeah.
But it seems like we hit this peak, and I don't know that we've stopped, but because we kind of talked about it earlier, it's almost like people are more content with having, you know, like we talked about the next Jeff Bezos of, you know, agriculture.
Farming, yeah.
You know, but to be able to do those things yourself at some point is going to be the future again, I would imagine.
I think so too, and I feel like it's going to be an imperative. I don't want to say trait, but what asset? But there's another word for
it's a skill,
it. Like
I
skill.
would imagine.
There we go. It's going to be a skill that you're probably going to need to know. We may not have these, and I might be wrong. I mean, we may always have HEBs, but as we know, those stores become empty.
Real quick.
There's nothing in them. And I'm not like a super prepper. I buy minimal food. Like,
Yeah.
I buy what we need whenever we have it. I mean, I have a few things, but I realized that I changed my style of purchasing when I moved over here. And so it was a little bit different. And maybe because of economic reasons.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I wasn't making what I was making over there. I was living off the farm for the most part. But it changes you. Like, you realize you don't need as much food as you probably think that you really need.
Yeah.
But I do farm. So I know that I'm always going to have food somehow. So it's a little bit different in my case.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not for everybody. But I'm hoping that more people will start remembering, like, okay, try to buy more sustainable food if possible. Like, I know it's expensive and people charge a lot more for it.
Yeah.
Especially organic vegetables or locally organic. But you do realize, like, lettuce grown and you buy it locally will last like 2 to 3 weeks in your refrigerator. I mean, I guarantee that to people. I'm like, look, you're going to buy this from me? Yeah, I'm charging you whatever, $4 for the whatever bag I'm giving you. But it's going to be in your fridge until it's gone. Like, it'll last up to 3 weeks and probably up to a month at times.
Really?
Because, of the harvest and the washing and it's amazing. So it won't go bad. But if you go to H-E-B and you buy lettuce, like, some of that lettuce is going to go bad within a week. And so and that's like at Costco or Sam's or whatever. I'm not just picking on H-E-B, but a lot of their lettuces will go bad pretty fast.
You know, I think it's important for people to, and again, everybody has different financial situations and whatnot, and it's always cheaper to eat McDonald's nuggets than it is to eat healthy, you know, but people need to remember that if they don't utilize and purchase people like you and services like what you provide, at some point they won't be around.
No, and not at all. Like you're not going to be able to make it actually. And even like people who are starting to sell their own meats and own eggs and things like that, you should try to buy that if possible. I wish like more small farmers, I mean, just to be able to take the EBT card or their SNAP benefits. I wish that would be a process that's more readily available for farmers like myself to make the application, so that would be a choice for other just a wider community base, basically, to explain
So
that
right
to
now you're
people.
not allowed to take.
You can do a whole application, and I could probably get approved to do SNAP benefits, but I think they mainly do it for like supermarkets. I know about some Whole Food stores may take it as well. Not Whole Foods the store, but like natural food stores. They probably are able to, but I haven't heard of too many individual farms being able to do that, especially here in this region.
And I'd imagine there's a lot of effort that goes into acquiring customers. I mean, people will go to, if you're selling to, let's say, an HEB or a Culebra meat market or somebody like that, or if you're doing the farmer's market. But, I think it seems like there's a lot of people don't automatically think about the small farmer and purchasing from there,
No, I don't think they do. I wish they did. Only when there's nothing in the store
Yeah,
do
well,
they
you said
remember.
that.
Yeah.
You said that.
So during the freeze, like there was nothing in HEB, no vegetables, no meat, nothing. Everything was off the shelves. Like different from the pandemic though. Like pandemic times, there was still all the vegetables and fruit. Everything else was gone. But the freeze, there was nothing. I had never seen it that way in my life. Like it was eye-opening.
It's got to be scary.
It was scary. Yeah. And I had seen 2 different HEBs that way. It was like one of the bigger ones, and then we went to another smaller one. And I remember like, I'm only buying this potato because we don't have potatoes at home. Like, or else. And then I ended up like only buying, and I bought purple potatoes at that. I was like, oh, these taste just as yummy as the other ones. We fry them and they'll be good. But that was all that was left.
Wow.
But only a few of those. And so it was, and interesting that on that next Saturday, people are coming to the market in droves. It was probably one of the busiest ones of the season, like looking for vegetables or looking for this or that. And it's amazing. I'm like, we're always here. Like, don't forget that we're here just because there's nothing in the store now.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we do. This is why we're here, like, week to week. Like, you should support your local. I was almost admonishing them, like.
Yeah, it's got to be tough because people love convenience. I'm breaking up for a little while with DoorDash. I use them way too much, and they're way too expensive.
Yeah, they are.
But people love that convenience, So it's kind of like, well, if I'm gonna go to the grocery store and purchase hamburger meat, I may as well get my produce there too, And so I think there needs to be, and I don't know what the answer is, but there almost needs to be this mental shift on how you acquire what you're eating.
Yes.
All of our meat that we buy, we'll go once. Honestly, I need to buy things here and there from the grocery store, but probably once a year, maybe twice a year, I'll go to the meat market in Marion, and I'll buy way too much meat. I'll come in, I'll throw it in the freezer, and we'll use that, for the year, the 6 to 8 months or whatever. And it's difficult to be able to pay that up front and buy all that meat, all at once.
Right.
But 1, I hate going anywhere, and 2, I don't want. It's called Pinshorns, and they're in Marion.
Right.
And I don't want Pinshorns to go away. I like going to Pinshorns. I like the process of going to the meat market, and I like, being able to tell them how I want it cut and how I want it packaged.
Right.
And so it's probably a little more expensive and a little more inconvenient, but it's more customized to how I want something, right? And so I think that if people can just kind of start looking at things differently and going, hey, I don't want Vida Farms to go away. You know, I like being able to go and get stuff there, and I don't want that to go away.
Right.
Similar to Pin Shorts. It's just, you know, how do you get people to get off that super convenient large grocery store mentality? And you can still go. You can go buy toilet paper and everything else.
Yeah, like
you know?
I still need certain things that I'm not going to get anywhere else. So, like I said, I don't grow potatoes. There are certain things I need from the store, like citrus. Like sometimes I can't find a local citrus grower because now everything's dead after the freeze. Mm-hmm. We won't have Valley citrus for maybe another year.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, it's those kind of things. But I feel like there are people who are dedicated to the farmers markets. I have a lot of like CSA, which are community supported agriculture customers. And when I stopped doing my vegetable delivery bags every week, they still came to the market looking for my stuff. And so I would be like, well, this is what I have. You know, buy it or not buy it. It's up to you. But I mean, I have loyal customers who come week to week. I know I can usually count on them to buy certain amount of things. So it's a shift. You have to change the way people are thinking about what they're eating, and then also wanting to buy more locally. So I think it's slowly starting to happen, very slowly.
I think people probably also enjoy the interaction with you, you know. So they may enjoy your personality. They may enjoy just small talk with you, you know. And it's like you don't get that at a
grocery
Walmart,
store. Hardly, not anymore.
Yeah. So
and
I mean,
now
that's
it's all self-check.
There's something to be said for that. I think being able to build a rapport with your the people that shop with you, but at the same time them building the rapport with you, and I think people like that. One thing that I have a very, very shitty attitude, I guess most people say, and so there's a couple of people at Pinshorns that feel like I'm kind of an asshole too. So let me tell you, I was fixing to tell you about these two ladies that just look like I'm highly inconveniencing them. But then when I tell you how I do things at Pinshorn, you're gonna go, yeah, I'd look at you like that too. So like I treat it like the firecracker stand, right?
Okay.
I'm starting at one end and I'm going all the way to the other, and we're getting something out of every case. And so, and they don't have the largest variety. But again, like I said, I don't care. I like that meat market,
Right?
You know. And so, you know, I'll go in the pork case and get some pork chops or whatever, or something for barbecuing. And then you go into the beef. And so it's like, it's just me and Nina. And most of the time she doesn't eat pork, but because she's crazy. So, like, I'll be like, you know what, give me 6 pork chops. And I want them wrapped 2 per package. Okay? All right. But we still have a long way to go, right? One thing that we use a lot of is hamburger meat, right? So it's super versatile. You can make it in different kind of ways, different dishes. So we'll get there. Okay, I'll take 10 pounds of hamburger meat, and I wanted wrapped in 1 pound packages. And that's when they started making the face. And so ribeyes too. They have some really good ribeyes there, and I'm still a fat, overly attractive man, but as I've gotten older, we've been eating less, right?
Right.
So like before, if we were cooking ribeyes, we were making 2 ribeyes. Now we'll make 1, and we'll probably eat on it for 2 days.
Right.
And they're really big over there too, so that kind of helps. But my favorite part is when I get to the bologna.
Seriously?
Oh, Nina hates it, and so do those ladies. So and part of me was just being fat the first few times that I did it. Now I do it because I think it's funny. But I'll say, hey, let me get 3 pounds of bologna, and or whatever I'm asking for. And so again, they'll slice it however you want it. So they have it's a little cheat sheet on top of the counter, and how thick the slices are, like 1 through 10 or something. And so they'll always ask, how thick do you want to cut? And I'll look at them as serious as I can. And I'll say, let me see your thumb. And so they'll look at me like I'm a pervert first, which they're not far off. But I say, let me see your thumb.
You got a thing for thumbs.
Yeah, and other stuff. We just saw a TV show. So they'll hold their thumb up. And I think it's funny that they even hold their thumb up. But they'll hold their thumb up and I'll go, a little bit bigger than that. And so they'll look at me and they'll go back and they'll like, all right, you fat motherfucker, let's start cutting. And like, I'll get like 3 pounds of bologna and it's literally like 4 slices. And it's probably a half-inch thick, if not a little bit more.
Oh my goodness.
Like it's so thick that when you fry it, it does not bubble, you know? So I've brought it home before and Nita was like, this is ridiculous. And blah, blah, blah. You know, I block her out. But so she'll take one and she'll like take a knife and start slicing into like 5 slices or something. And so I'll take one and I'll throw it in the pan and fry it up. And oh, it's so good. But that's kind of one of my favorite things to do. And then, so I'll go to the counter and I'll pay. And I think the last time we went, it was stupid expensive. But I think that most things are getting stupid expensive now. So
They are.
yeah. Have you had to increase prices on your stuff?
I have. I started to slowly, just because one, I felt like prices are too cheap here. From pricing things in Hawaii to here was
Everything's imported.
Yeah, there. So I mean, there we can kind of push limits on how much things cost.
Yeah.
And so I pushed it in Hawaii as much as I could, and we kind of went with what everybody else was selling. Here, I came and I was like, how are you expected to make a living?
That's pretty low.
Yeah, I was like, this is like, you're giving it away.
Yeah.
And so probably, I want to say towards the end, like maybe March, April, and May, I started to slowly increase my prices. Just because I was doing a lot of driving. I felt like a lot of time on certain things, like lettuce take a really long time to clean. Cut, clean, arugula, the same thing. And I was spending a lot of time on it. And I was like, why am I just selling this for this much amount of money? Like, it's not worth it anymore. And so I increased like $1 for the same amount. Because I'm like, no, like I bag it separately. I harvested it. I washed it twice. I cleaned it cleaned out all the bad pieces is what I mean, and I'm cleaning it. So it's as clean as you're possibly going to get, and then washing it twice, which takes time. There are people who don't wash any of their stuff.
Oh, really?
But yeah.
Can't you get sick, though?
Yeah, that's why I've always been taught, like, you wash everything. I'll wash your produce, usually washing it twice takes off, as much as possible. And so I did raise my prices on those. And because I feel like I just wanted to push the market.
Yeah.
And I was hoping other farmers would start like raising their prices as well. Because ultimately you're still trying to support yourself.
Sure.
Seed costs money, your time, your labor. Not only going to market, but everything. And so a friend of mine had been helping me a few times, probably a lot in May. And she had farmed a little bit in Austin, or worked for a farmer. And so we were talking about pricing and everything like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I already raised mine. She's like, you should raise them a little bit more. Like, people who are buying this produce are going to buy it. And it's true. Like, they're going to buy it. If they really want it, you're going to buy something, right? You're going to pay for it.
Sure.
And so that's what that came from. So I'm slowly starting to condition more people on...
Have they been pretty receptive so far?
Yeah, market's been closed, and I didn't go to the last one because I ran out of greens or whatever.
Oh, gotcha.
And if that's where I make the most of my money is on greens. So it's good. I think they were fine. Nobody complained.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it is
good.
what it is.
I think most of the time, when somebody has a good product, you're always going to have people that are just fucking cheapskates.
Yeah,
Always.
Totally.
Always. But I think that people are okay with spending money on something that's a good product, and that and you end up developing loyalty that way.
Yeah.
And much like we talked about earlier, I spend way too much money on knives. But it's like, I know this is going to be a good one.
Yeah.
And I may need it once in my life.
Exactly.
So let me go get it.
There's always possibility. But yeah, it's true. But we have had people like walk up. A friend of mine once, we were selling some lettuce, and he's like, "How much is that bag of lettuce?" And we were like, $5. He was like, "This is more than the store," and we were like, "Well, then don't buy it." And that's exactly what we told him. Like, you don't have to buy it. Nobody's forcing you to buy this bag of lettuce.
Yeah.
That's just what we're asking. Take it or leave it. And he was like, I am not buying it. And we were like, okay, see you later. And so, like, super nice. And
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, exactly. So it is about, like, if you want it or you don't want it. But I can tell you exactly how long that lettuce is going to last, particularly, or that green is going to last, and, you know, exactly how it was grown, harvested, everything about that. I can tell you the variety. So I think, like you said, it's partially the story that you're trying to tell.
Sure.
Behind what you're selling, the product you're selling.
So not just vegetables, but you also do dyeing, right? And what else do you do? You've got the dyeing, and weren't you doing something with flowers as well?
So I naturally dye textiles with flowers.
Okay.
So yeah. So I had been doing that in Hawaii as well. I first started to do like indigo dyeing using a Japanese technique called shibori. So when people come up to me and say, that's just tie-dye, I'm like, I basically want to smack them in the face.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'll have to look that up a little bit, and I may say the same thing. So I'll say it to myself.
Do not say it's tie-dyeing. I just basically, I'm like, it's like fighting words. I'm like, what? No, all offended.
I think I know what you're talking about, because didn't you do like something in blue and purple and white?
Yeah, so it's just blue and white.
Okay.
But I'm intentional about it. I mean, even like the flower dyeing. So textile dyeing naturally, either with dried flowers or fresh flowers, because I grow a lot of flowers as well. It's like, they would say it's just tie-dye. And I'm like, no, that's super offensive. Like, you're offending me when you're telling me it's tie-dye, because it isn't. Like, I'm intentionally making a pattern on this cloth so that you can see it. I'm not just like randomly putting colors together and tie-dyeing them. Like, no, that's not what I'm doing at all. Like, no, there's an intentional, like, artistic thought process that I'm trying to balance out this so that it's appeasing to your eye and functional at the same time.
It's funny you say that, because you would probably punch me in the face. I got this guy that owns a restaurant up the road. His name's Oscar, and Oscar he owns Solomon. I think that's his middle name or something. He was saying the other day, and he's such a good chef. I love his place because it's just, the atmosphere is cool. It's like run down with just different types of chairs and tables, and nothing matches. But the food's amazing.
Nice.
And I'll tell him I just screw with him. So he'll be like, "Hey, you guys want pancakes?" And I'll be like, "Are they like an IHOP?" And he just looks at me. He's like, so similar to what you're saying. He's like, "I don't cook IHOP," you know, or I'll tell him, "Man, the steak's real good. It's like saltgrass." And he just gets super offended. But I think at this point now he understands that I'm just hacking on him. But, so I totally get it. So people can buy your stuff online, or is it available at the market when you have it available?
Both. When I have it at the market, actually I sell my stuff right now through Procured Life and Home. And we recently came out with our spring,
is that the website?
Summer collection. That's the name of the store, Procured Life and Home.
Oh, it's a brick and mortar then.
Yeah, that's a brick and mortar. They'll have everything online, and I don't keep up with my personal website, which is bethefarms.com. But it's there, and whenever I start growing again and have more product textiles, then I'll put them back on.
Okay.
But I haven't been dyeing like for personal use because I haven't been going to market. And so I haven't taken the time to just have my own stock. But yeah, the brick and mortar Procured Life and Home has.
Where's that one at? In some
Harlingen.
Harlingen. Okay. Yeah,
they're a pretty cool store. They do a lot of local artists. So very like nice woodworking, paper. Remember we were talking about
Yeah.
paper? So a girl who does like paper art. And there's a ceramicist and a jewelry artist.
Cool.
And then I'm the textile. So
then it's just a little collective. So it was, y'all strategized on what you were going to be providing there.
the shop owners strategize on what's going to be provided.
That's cool.
So
That's smart.
Yeah, they also do a lot of like vintage furniture and, you know, just other stuff that's really cool. So I really love them. They're a great like
That's
group
awesome.
of like, they're like family and friends. So it's pretty nice to be with them. And everybody in that group is pretty cool. Like they're some of the best people. I think it's made life in the valley a little bit easier.
Yeah.
After you don't have so many friends. I have you, but you're way over here.
I'm kind of far away.
Yeah, so it's nice to have like somebody there. So, yeah.
And that's cool because I would imagine that when you're an artist like you guys are, you tend to probably have the same kind of thought processes and procedures on how you do things, and probably the goals that you have for your business, and goals that you want to set for being able to produce things and sell things and provide a living for yourself. So it's good to be able to have those like-minded people in the same area.
Definitely. Somebody to like talk to or work things through, or things that aren't working, and maybe just to keep going, to like persevere through it all.
Oh, it's got to be hard, especially through the pandemic last year and the freeze this year. I mean, it can't have been easy.
It was not.
It's probably difficult on a good day. So
yeah. And it's nice, like, they get along with my boys, and, like, I take them to ceramics. So I do a trade with the ceramicist, and the boys go to ceramics, and I provide her vegetables.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a good trade that they get something out of it, like something artistic to do, and then I get to give them something in mine. So I guess a barter system.
Yeah.
And so
I like when kids get exposed to different things like that. I think a lot of times I think a lot of times parents find an avenue that their kids enjoy and they can get energy out, whether it's a sport or whatever. And they eventually become hyper-focused on that thing,
Yeah.
And so they don't really expose them, or the kid doesn't get exposed to other stuff that they may be interested in. And one funny thing was Bojan. I don't think you remember Bojan Walker. His kids are huge into sports and football, baseball, and they do a lot of it year round. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And the other day, I say the other day, but sometimes to me, the other day is like yesterday, or it might be like 7 years ago. So I think it was earlier this year. Sometime between now and when it actually happened. I think it was probably a few months ago, because it was after last year's madness. But I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He said his middle son was going to. They were going to a concert at school for his middle son, and I said, "Concert? What does he play?" He said, "The cello." I was like, "He plays the cello?" And he's like, "Yeah, he plays guitar too." And I was like, "Really?" Because I've always been aware of their big participation in sports,
right?
And a lot of times when you have a kid that's really aggressive and good at football, you don't expect him to be interested in the cello, So I thought that was awesome, and they do a good job of giving the kids variety and kind of exposing them to different things. But so that's cool that you're able to provide that for the boys too. It gives them, and
good.
Even if it's something they don't ever pursue in the future, it's nice that they have that experience, and they may meet a chick down the road and take her to ceramics class.
Which was really funny, because I took my youngest son to work with me one day, and he was playing in the mud, so he was remembering his ceramics class.
Oh, really?
And he was making like little men and like.
That's awesome.
And no, this is the other part of it. I had to give him a bucket to put all of this clay men, whatever he had formed, and carry it around with us for like 5 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I could not throw it away. Like, he didn't want to leave it at the farm. He didn't want it to get broken. So we had to basically stick it in a safe place.
You know what's neat about that is, how old is he?
He is 7.
That's neat that he, at 7 years old, has a sense of value for something that he's created. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy for a 7-year-old to make something and leave it.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
Never come back to it.
it's like going to the beach and making a sandcastle and then kicking it and then, you know, digging a hole.
Yep.
You know, but to be able to go to make something and be proud of it and want to preserve it. I mean, that's pretty cool for a 7-year-old, I think.
I thought it was interesting in it, but I kept thinking, like, I have this bucket of clay sitting in the back of the car. But I didn't throw it away. Like, I knew he was attached. And he did play with it the next couple of days we went to work. And then he was the one who decided, like, I said, are you going to take those with us? He had left them on the picnic table. And he was like, no. He's like, they're too hard now. I can't play with them like I could have before. Because, you know, the clay dries hard. Yeah. So he knew when he was ready to let them go.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I was like, pretty, you know, the things you can learn from your children.
That's pretty
like,
neat.
Have it, but you can always let it go if you have to.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think my Delta 8 is kicking in.
Nice.
So I would like for you to tell everybody where they can find your produce, where they can find you online, and things like that.
You can find me on Instagram at hi.vida, vidafarms.com, or you can see my textiles at my Instagram is also at .carbajal, I think TX Isles.
Y'all might need to pause this when you're writing that down.
Or at Procured Life and Home.
Okay.
But yeah.
And that's in Harlingen.
It is in Harlingen. But they have a website and they post everything on the site as well.
Where are the farmer markets at that you participate in?
I've only been going to the one in Harlingen, and that's the Harlingen, it's off of Tyler on the main street, but Harlingen Farmers Market.
Okay.
Is what it is. And so, but it only runs from like October to June. Oh, okay. So they don't have it during the more sunnier months.
Gotcha.
It's too hot.
Yeah, it is. Well, thanks for sitting with me.
Thank you for having me.
I've had a lot of fun.
Me too.
And I'm sorry for Nina making that runny spaghetti pie.
It was not a runny spaghetti.
You ate it anyway, so you were a trooper, so I was pretty proud.
It was good. The garlic bread was good.
The garlic bread was good, but you can thank Texas Toast for that. So, well, anyway, thanks for coming, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Gabe Molina Podcast.